Now, if you've been listening to South African hits, you'll have an idea who Tyla is. From chart-topping hits to international recognition, she's not just a South African star anymore, she's going global. But with global fame, there comes global problems. Now, before we even get into the controversy, you need to understand something with me, guys. Tyla isn't just another artist coming up. She's one of the fastest rising stars out of South Africa right now. She's stepping into her international spaces, walking red carpets, standing alongside global names. And when it comes to the music, she's not just making songs, she's creating moments. Crowds showing up, fans singing along her songs, energy that's clearly crossing borders. And in interviews, you can see it. She understands the spotlight is on her. She knows the world is watching. But with that kind of attention comes a different level of problem, because when you move from local success to global recognition, people don't just celebrate you. Hold on. They start to analyze you thoroughly. But then things started to shift. A section of Black Americans began questioning her identity, her branding, and how she presents Black culture. Some are even saying she's distancing herself from being labeled as Black American culture while she's still benefiting from it. This is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. As fast tweets appear, people online are starting to question things. Some people are even suggesting that she's distancing herself from certain labels. As more tweets flash, and once that idea got out, it started spreading all over. Some voices online are calling for boycott, not just criticism, but a full-on rejection. But the question is, why has it gotten to this point? Let's watch this before anything else.
Like in South Africa, my race is called colored, and it's a very stressful term to use in America because I know it's a derogatory term.
Right.
But I mean, that's what we are called in South Africa.
Right.
But Tyla's team, the people that be behind her in the interviews, feeding her the stupid shit to say in America, you totally dropped the ball. And totally dropped the ball. And that whole, I'm from South Africa and we use colored over there had long-lasting ramifications.
Yes, that does.
Back to being in the people business. Back to my point about Ari and being in the people business. Cool that that's what happens over there. But as a young artist in America, you should read the room. For the people that aren't in music, why this is a thing is you don't go from having a smash like Water to selling 4,000 of an EP.
That's odd.
That's odd.
Very odd. That's odd.
That's odd. It's not supposed to happen like that. She makes good music.
She does.
She does make good music. And I think that reading the room incorrectly can be fixed and addressed. So there's a future for Tyla in America as an Afrobeats act or whatever she's trying to do. For Tyla's team, good for y'all. Tyla, she'll be fine.
Stop trying to blame Black Americans for Tyla's flopping album. It ain't our fault. Her music is trash to some of us. And then she said she wasn't even Black, so we let her have that. We let her have that so she can make her music for who her audience is for. Because it obviously isn't for us. So yeah, don't come over here getting mad at us.
What have we learned from Tyla's new EP selling less than 4,000 units? Is that it's never a good idea to have Black Americans not on your side. Historically, we know this. When Tyla's fans said that Black Americans don't run anything, they forgot that the model for the civil rights movement helped their liberation as well. Her team messed her up. Because it's not the fact that Black Americans don't realize that race works differently in other countries. It's the fact that when you come to America, Black Americans want to know how you connect to them. And Tyla basically said she's not connecting to Black Americans. Artists like Burna Boy, Thames, all came over, even Rihanna, all came over and said, we Black. We all in this together. Tyla said, I don't know about y'all, but I'm colored. I'm not Black. And what she should have said was, in South Africa, I'm colored. In America, I'm Black. Because that's really how it works. It's never a good idea to have Black Americans against you. It is never a good idea to have Black Americans against you. And all those South Africans who said they was going to support the album, where y'all at? Because she only sold about 4,000 so far. That means y'all not putting your money where your mouth is. One thing about Black Americans is when we have money, we spend it. A dollar don't last in our community. So if we like something, we gonna buy it. That's why the Black American dollar is the most American dollar in the United States. I hope Tyler can work it out, but we've been told y'all. It is never a good idea to have Black Americans not on your side.
As to why colored is so triggering, but the N-word isn't.
Black Americans are very triggered by the word colored in a way that we're not triggered by the N-word. And if you allow me some time, I can explain why. I personally am not here to comment on the Tyla situation or diaspora war. I'm here for diaspora education. So let's get into it. In the Jim Crow era, this is after slavery. Slavery ended in America in about like 1865, and we had a very brief, shitty Reconstruction era where they were attempting to repair the relations between former slaves and slave owners. It didn't really work, and so by the time the 1900s rolled around, we had Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws were designed to separate Black and white populations and to control Black populations. And now it's also important to note that legally, Black people were considered 3/5 of a human being, right? And so therefore there is a lot of predisposition. White Americans just did not consider Black people fully human. That's where the word colored comes into. All colored means in America is not white. You are a color, you are not white. It is completely divorced from your culture. It basically is saying, I don't even care enough about you to designate you to what you are. You are a color. Even though we clearly, as Black people, are one color, we're actually not even going to be specific about the color. We're not even going to call you Black. You're just a color. You're just not white. It leads to there is no identity in colored. In fact, it's the opposite of having an identity. It's basically saying that you don't have a right to an identity because you're not white. You're not white. You're just colored. You're just colored. What color? Who gives a fuck? You're just colored. Now, that's very different than the N-word, which was always used to describe enslaved people, right? It was always just describe Black people. There was never a time where the N-word did not have an identity attached to it. The identity just happened to be a slave. And so when Black people were freed from being slaves and were on the reclaiming identity, really trying to figure out who we were and how we wanted to work that identity out, there's a lot of Black people who reclaimed the N-word because it was something so apart. It was something that was so painful being pushed upon us. And in the civil rights movement and in even the hip hop movement of trying to understand how do we want to present ourselves, there was a lot of power in taking such a negative word, such a word that was filled with so much hate, a word that was used to describe us so negatively, and turn it into our word and say, now we can give power to it. Colored, we can't do the same thing with that because colored doesn't lead to any true identity. It literally just means you're not white, and we don't care enough to give you a designation beyond that. And so when we hear somebody call themselves colored, it just sounds so off because for our context, for the American context, there is no identity attached to colored, right? And some people brought up like, oh, the NAACP exists. And that's true. The NAACP existed in a time where Black people were being called colored. And in a large way, that was their way of trying to reclaim some of these terms and try to say, hey, and try to bring respect and try to bring a aspect of community and aspect of identity to Black Americans. And so the NAACP, we just let that slide. They existed for a long time. We just let that slide. But in general, there is not really a positive identity that can be associated with colored because at the end of the day, in the American context, all it really means is not white. And that's why even still to this day, you have a lot of people who have a problem with the term people of color, because again, that just kind of capitulates to mean that you're just not white. At the end of the day, who cares about what color you are, what culture you are? You're just not white, right? And so it's a harder term to try to reclaim, and also an unwanted term to reclaim, more importantly, because it's a racial term that only exists in proximity to whiteness. Like the word colored in America it can't exist without being compared to being white, right? And so there was like Malcolm X was a really big one, and basically saying, why are we using this term? Like, why are we using a racial term that only makes sense in proximity to white people? We should actually be using our own racial terms because we are not a color, we are Black. And
I guess Tyla win. I'm Americans. Abantu basemzini because Tyla is being managed by Americans, first of all, right? And Tyla career yake is based in America. Tyla is making money off Americans. You know, she's not really making money from South Africans. You know, I'm hyper, you just hype her, she goes to Mall of Africa and that's it. Her major support is really where she's actually making the money is in America. But apparently, allegedly, the minute Americans start saying something about Tyla, you are there, backing, woof woof. And Americans are getting fed up because they're like, send her back to the sender. We don't want her. They're even saying things like, we just hope her career flops. We don't give a about her. Like, they've gotten to a point where they actually just don't care about the whole Tyla thing. Because, first of all, Tyla is definitely, benefiting from the American culture. She's in America. Her managers are Americans. She is most of the time in America. She is making her music in America. Do you know what I mean? She's doing interviews in America. She's choosing what and what not to answer in America. So Americans are pissed off. They are just fed up. They're just like, you know what? You're not going to come to our country, want to actually benefit from our culture and our money. And the next thing, you don't give us the respect that we need. Especially your people. Because every time there's a question or there's something that has to do with Tyla, the mob just mobs, And I feel it. The thing is, at the end of the day, unfortunately, and we are easily swayed to fighting and just showcasing but we don't have the cash, guys. Let me tell you, we don't have the money to support Tyla as much as the Americans are going to be supporting Tyla. I don't understand why because the people that are making Tyla rich are not South Africans. It's not South Africans that are making Tyla rich. It's the Americans. It's people outside of South Africa. It's not us. Honestly, with our rents, it's not us that are making Tyla rich. It is the Americans. So I'm sensitive. It's like the minute they are trying to just find out, because they're trying to find out about this person that they are supporting with their money, with their time, with their energy. But they're always waiting with fangs. So they are like, Tyla win as something. Like, we don't need her. We don't give a fuck about her. We just hope her career flops. Because,
I mean, I know that people have been having this issue with Tyla saying that she's colored. I think that she probably didn't realize that it meant something different. She's only 19 years old,
Right.
number one,
Yeah.
or 18 or so. She's a kid.
Yeah.
And I think she didn't realize that it was different for you than it is for us. And for her, it was very important to claim that identity.
That's
because
right.
in South
her
Africa,
culture.
yes, and in South Africa, this is it's important that she identifies as a colored person.
That's
because
right.
there's a group of people that can get ignored, and colored people tend to fit into that space. So, yeah, I mean, it's different. It's a cultural identity more than it being a racial identity. I think it's just to understand that black is a political identity for us, and Tyla would be black politically,
Yeah.
but she'd be culturally a colored person.
That's right.
Who grows up in a colored environment where the culture is completely different.